My name's Steve Scoggin. I'm with CLA, have been a longtime supporter of the association, and I was thinking about that the other day. I know Dave has been here a long time, and this is a great group, and we've been a big supporter for a number of years, and always we're here to help contractors. And Troy, you did a fantastic job today, and we help you guys deal with change. And it seems change is accelerating every day. I know it is in my business, and I know it is in yours. And with all the crazy stuff, the thing we heard today about the union, that was really the first time I heard anything about that specific challenge that you guys are gonna have. We know there's a lot of tax things coming down the pike. And we're hopefully going to help you guys deal with that. But it's all about change. And so I'm just here to briefly introduce CLA and then introduce Lisa Horn, who's going to talk to you about succession. And I noticed a lot of the grayer-haired people stayed for this session. So it's something you all have to be thinking about. I've always said my rule of thumb has been it's not 5 years you need to be preparing for this, it's 10, or maybe 15, or maybe even 20. The contractors that I work with that are the most successful are the ones that are always thinking about the future and attempting to deal with all this change. So we're excited to have Lisa here, but let me tell you just a little bit about CLA. We are the #1 rated by Construction Executive Magazine. Woohoo, we're a $1 billion CPA firm. But a little bit of my history, I started approximately 25 years ago with the Leverage Group, which was a local construction-oriented CPA firm. I've been dealing with contractors for the last 25 years. But now we're part of an organization. We joined CLA 5 years ago, and we're nationally, we have national power now. And whether you need it or not, we're still a local CPA firm, same size office pretty much, with local flavored construction CPAs. So we're here to help you guys, but we have a lot of firepower behind us. 130 offices. But of course we do audits and accounting and financial statements, but also we do what Lisa's going to be talking about today is leadership transition. And again, I've been doing this a long time, but it seems in the last 5 years, more and more of the clients I work with are thinking about or beginning to prepare for the next generation. And it's inevitable, another part of change. Consulting, that really covers a whole lot of things, and I would say the best definition was it helps you guys deal with change. Whatever you have on your plate right now, we've generally seen it before and can talk to you guys and help you. Employee benefit plans, we can help with that as a tax planning method, as well as retention of employees. We have international tax people, international assistance, human resources and search. We can help you find executives and or field people. We do that nationally, and we have done it locally over the years. M&A, mergers and acquisitions, investment banking, outsourcing. We've been building a biz ops department in our Salt Lake office, which really is, we can help you with your bookkeeping. We can help you with, you can rent a CFO for a couple hours a week. We can help you again deal with change from the inside. One of the things that we're talking to Troy about is the contractors that we see that are the most successful are the ones that have invested in their office, in their accounting, in their understanding of the complexities of contractor finances. And it's really something that makes all the difference in the world. And a lot of the challenges that Troy mentioned all kind of stem from the office and how that's being run and whether you have the right advisors or the right people in the right seats. And then cybersecurity and risk management, we can do a lot of things with computers nationally. Tax, that's the one. Planning, or what word did you use, Troy? Games? Yes. Taxes are inevitable, and they are going to go up. They are going to change. Things are going to change. And we help you hopefully understand those situations and plan for them. And then we have a wealth advisory group too. But, really our job and the way that I get to know the contractors I work with is I just spend time with them and talk to them about what their issues are and really understand what makes them tick, what their goals are. And so we're just here to help. And again, I've been very excited to be a part of this organization. One thing I do want to mention, and we skipped last year, but we have supported or have sponsored a Utah wage and benefit survey for approximately the last 20 years. We did skip last year, but this year we are bringing that back. And Dave, I'll talk to you about, getting you a link. The questions are going to be going out here very shortly. Over the years, we've had up to 200, 250 Utah contractors talk about benefits, talk about wage levels for different positions. And I'll also ask you to probably do a little presentation once the results come out, later in the summer. So just again, we know people are a big issue for you, and want to get you some information that might help you make decisions in that area. But that's all I have to say. Lisa, very excited to have her here. I actually met her a few months ago. She's out of our Wisconsin office, and met her a few months ago, and she's working directly with one of the clients I work with on succession and really thinking about things. This particular contractor he's probably in his late 40s, and he's looking at succession very seriously. So, Lisa, I'm very excited to have you here. Let me hand you all the equipment.
Thank you.
There's that, and here's this too. Yes, you need this one.
Turn all this stuff on. This one. Jeez.
But we're very excited to have her here, everybody. Welcome, Lisa home.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And you don't need this one, right?
No. All right. Thanks, Steve. So, I keep hearing about plumbing, but I thought we had HVAC people here too. There we go. So, how many plumbing contractors do we have? And how many HVAC people? There we go. What a great audience. We have, I have a lot of friends that are in both of those areas. So who am I? Well, I'm Lisa. I'm from the Cheese State. You guys did Jeopardy this morning. Did you watch last week when Aaron Rodgers was hosting for a couple weeks on Jeopardy? We care a lot about that in Wisconsin, right? Aaron Rodgers, he's pretty important to us. But I'm from Wisconsin, but I'm not normally from Wisconsin. I moved to the US in 2001. I'm actually from Northern Ontario, Canada. And I'm telling you that up front because you might start guessing what my accent is, right? Which I really don't think I have an accent, but everybody seems to think I do. So I moved to the US in 2001 on a job transfer with Kimberly-Clark. So I've spent a lot of time out in Ogden, Utah. We have a diaper facility there. Has anyone done work in the diaper facility there? Yeah. So I spent a lot of time there, and my role at that time was the leader of safety and environment for the personal care sector. So I would go in and make sure they had all the right systems in place to ensure they were providing a safe workplace for their team members, and that they treated contractors just as well as they do their employees, right? That's just as important. So a long history with Kimberly-Clark, also got involved with continuous improvement, but I started my career as a registered nurse. When I was growing up in this little town of 2,000 people, Terrace Bay, Ontario, based on my age, there were two choices when you were finished high school. Well, maybe three. right? Okay, so you could become, as a female, you could become a nurse, you could become a teacher, or you could become a mom right away and work at the pulp mill. So those were my 3 choices. I chose to be a nurse. And the fun thing about being a nurse is it leads you in a lot of different directions. I did go back to school to get my business degree eventually because I learned working for a big global manufacturer that coming from the heart doesn't always work. So you got to talk about how things impact the bottom line and your financials. So when it comes to safety. But when I left there after 15 years, I started doing consulting work with a lot of smaller businesses. And what I found out, their issue wasn't so much around how to be more efficient or applying lean concepts or putting their safety systems and environmental systems in place. It was, what am I going to do with this great business I've developed and I've made and I've been taking care of? And their biggest pain point was around, how do I transition my business? So I got pretty passionate about it. So that's what I do every day, all the time. I'm not a CPA. In fact, I think it's kind of strange living in a firm where you're not a CPA, right? But we have so many great resources to help our clients with. What I want to talk to you today are about these learning objectives. Number 1, why is it important to start planning early? So, now with a lot of the young entrepreneurs, when they're coming in and buying their family's business or getting involved in it, they're already making their transition plan. They don't want to work till 70 or like their father did or their grandfather. They want to maybe be done when they're 50. Maybe they want to get out at 40 when they make a lot of money and try something new as an entrepreneur. I want to teach you what the different options are for transitioning your business, because when you've done the deal isn't the time to figure out you could have had other options. It's too late. You don't get a do-over at that point. I want to talk to you about the key components involved in planning and who are all the important advisors to involve in a transition. So I said this was going to be a workshop, which means you're going to help me. So with that in mind, I am going to come down there. Here's your warning. And I'm going to come to each one of you individually, and you're going to share with me, are you a next generation that took over from a family member? Are you planning a transition? Do you know anything about transition? So I'll start with you.
Planning a transition, taking over.
You're going to take over. Family business?
Yep.
My favorite kind of client. All right. What about you?
In transition, kind of.
Currently in transition, so are you family here, all from the same business? So you're the original owner? Younger brother.
I was just like we kind of started it together. Yes.
So you're all family, or oh, that's awesome. You're the dad, and you're transitioning it to these 3? Oh, I love it. That's great. It's hard, right? Yeah? What about over here?
I'm hoping to stay in the business as long as they'll let me. I've already got the group in there and they're taking it on.
So your transition plan's death.
Hopefully.
Well, we better make sure you have a few important things in place if that's the case. What about here?
I am employed by him. I will help him transition.
Nice.
Because he's transitioning out as well. So he's doing the accounting side of our business.
Ah, perfect. Okay. Yes, I'm coming to you too.
I'm not transitioning nothing.
Nothing?
I'm going to die in my chair.
Oh no, you're my toughest client. We're going to have to work on you. All right, what about over here?
We're second generation. And
Oh, nice.
We'd like to transition.
So you're second gen and you want to
But the starting early thing is a problem.
Yeah,
since
that's
we're
what we're
already
running
there.
into right now. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. We have those clients too. We just have to expedite the steps. We just have to go a little quicker. So you 3 are transitioning to someone else?
Two here. We have 4 other brothers. There's 6 of us.
Oh, gee.
That's
And who you?
do it by itself.
So there's 6 of you?
And now,
There's.
6 of us in the business.
That's not the worst I've had to deal with.
Come on.
Nope. No. So you're with them? No. Okay. What's going on with you?
I'm 4th generation.
4th generation.
I'm the 5th generation we're looking at transitioning to in the next
Nice. So you guys beat the odds. Yeah, they usually say third generation transition. If it's not well planned, things start getting messy. So congratulations. That's good. All right. I'm coming. I'm right behind you. What do we got going on at this table?
We just transitioned in 2015, us three.
Nice.
Not sure about future transition.
What? Yeah, so the two of
They're
you.
buying me out.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. Wow, this is great. Lots of families. Fun. What do we have over here?
We've already transitioned and I forgot to take the money.
Oh, gee, the money, the deal, the most important part. Oh, gee. Okay, and what about over here?
Transitioning.
Another family. Nice. And you guys that are hiding in the corner, I'm going to come after you. What's going on over there?
Dad owns the business, and we're trying to work it all out, I guess.
Okay, so the two brothers, but the dad's not here? You got to take good notes.
He's playing around right now.
Good for him. That's the way it should be, right? Okay, this is going to be fun. All right. So why start planning now? These are just, we're going to dig deeper into this, but those of you who are in the middle of it, maybe you've stalled, maybe you're not sure what you're going to do next, it's a process, and it can be complicated for a variety of reasons. My favorite transitions are family transitions. I absolutely love it. I'm working with a construction company outside of Baltimore right now. 4 brothers, they are fun, and they're transitioning to 8 of their kids. Across the 4 of them, 8 of their kids. And we're helping them structure that, put in decision-making rules, roles and responsibilities. But it's complicated because even though they spend all this time together, there's a lot of things they don't talk about when it comes to running the business. And the brothers, they told me the other day, we were working on how to set up the deal for these 4 brothers, and the oldest one, they made a deal a while ago that every 2 years, one of them would transition out. Well, the oldest one's now 68, so he kind of didn't keep his end of the deal, which is stalling all of them. And the youngest one, who's 58, he's getting kind of annoyed because he's ready to go now. But he knows he's got to wait for the other 3 to do their 2 years. So we did some modeling on what this buyout could look like or how they could transfer the shares. And they're like, well, does this mean we're not going to get a new truck anymore? I'm like, I don't know. So what are you thinking or other things besides what you're going to get paid for your shares? What else do you need? They're like, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff, Lisa. I'm like, well, you 4 get together, and then we'll have a call, and you can let me know what else you're going to need. So we had that call the other day, and it turns out when they retire, they're each allowed 1 more truck, no more than $75,000. They get $500 a gas card a month each. What was the other thing? Their cell phones, they still get those. And what else was their final thing? Oh, back to bonding. They had a huge amount of money put aside for bonding, like a ton of money. And we're like, do you really need that much money for bonding? And so they talked to we're talking a huge amount of bonding money. So they talked to their bonding agent, and the guy said, no, you don't need that much money. So they're going to take about $4 million out of there. And they want it $1 million each over 10 years. These are all fine. These are dreams. Now we're going to put it in our tool, right, that takes their financials, and we're going to, next meeting, tell them if it's possible. But it's getting all that out on the table. That one's complicated. And, the oldest business owner I'm working with right now is 84. His business is worth $50 million, and he has no estate plans in place. He doesn't have a will. He's got 3 sons, 1 daughter.
Is he looking for adoption?
Right. No, but here's the thing. We're working on this quickly because what happens if he passes with the capital gains? What happens? Where are these kids, where are they going to get the money to pay that? So there goes the business, right? Not good. The youngest future owner I'm working with is 16. He's going to take over his parents' trucking business someday. He's convinced, and we keep Are you sure that's what you want to do? You're 16, you know? Oh no, he's doing it. He's doing it for sure. It's his dream. So we're going to start preparing for when he's done college and how that's all going to look. It's a lot of fun. But the bottom line is some of the things that you heard about from the speaker before me, these things that you do to prepare your business for a transition, it's just good business strategy. And the things we talk about today, whether you're going to transition tomorrow, 8 years, you don't know when, you might just die there, right? These are some things that are really important to have in place to protect this wonderful asset that you have developed. When I speak to business owners, they have all this going through their mind, right? So you're trying to run the business, plus you're thinking all these things. Do my kids get it? Are they going to be able to do this? Will my team members be upset? Who has the knowledge to do what I do? What am I going to do when I retire? I haven't spent time with my wife in years. How will my customers handle me not being there? How do I know when it's time? All these things are going through your head. What I want to share with you is that we have a team, or you can find a team who does this every single day, who have answers and solutions to a lot of the things that you're worried about. So our team at CLA, and honestly, you can find them at a lot of different places, right? This is just it's not salesy. What I'm trying to share with you is it's important that you have a team of advisors. And those advisors, those of you who've been in a transition, sometime you'll meet one advisor and they feel they can do the whole thing for you. But that's not how it works. You need multiple advisors to make sure you're going where you need to go. So our team, we have an owner transition services team, and it's made up of people like myself, owner transition advisors, quality of earnings, M&A, talent solutions, tax professional, wealth advisors, and valuation. And these are all members of our team. And we get together every 2 weeks on a Friday and say, hey, just met a bunch of people out in Utah. And there's one person was there who's actually a client of ours who thinks they might need some help. Where are they at? Well, they've already transitioned part of it, but da-da-da-da. And we'll talk about here's who we need to surround them with. Here's who we need to help them. Or they're just thinking about planning. Then we come in, and that's where I come in, and we do a discovery interview, and we find out what's going on, and are we looking at all the different pieces to bring in the different services that we have to help you. And guess what? If you stay tuned, you're going to hear from each one of these people, because I have a little video to show you where they explain how they fit in your transition journey. So when you're building your team of advisors, you'll kind of hear what they do and why it's important to bring that type of advisor in. So I'm Lisa, and I'm an owner transition advisor. So what do? I get a call from Steve, and he says, I was meeting with a client, and they were talking about transition. Can you meet with them? And I meet with the client, sometimes their spouse, sometimes their kids, sometimes the other key management people, and we talk. And we talk about their goals and dreams, what they want to do, when they want to get there, and then we use all that information to build the roadmap to get them to that transition. And it's transparent, so the kids aren't wondering, are they ever going to do this? Do we get to be involved? Is this going to happen? Like, when do we finally get this? It's there. We can all see it. And we build that roadmap. And we make sure we unlock and protect, like the 84-year-old, we got to protect his business. We help build the business, and we make sure that there's good wealth, because that wealth is important, right, for the owner to achieve their dreams and for the business to carry on. We do a lot of education. I don't know how many, I call them kids, they're not kids. They're like in their 40s, some are in their 20s, some are 30. And we do some executive coaching. We teach them about key leadership things that they need to understand to lead other people, especially right now, because guess what? Talent's hard to find no matter what industry I'm in. So what's the one thing everyone complains about when they go home from work? Their boss. So how do we make sure that your kids know how to be a good boss, how to inspire and motivate people to want to stick around? And I work as the project manager, make sure everything is going on. They need evaluation, get our evaluation people in. They don't have any idea what they need to retire, bring in the wealth advisor, pull them all in. So before we get into the fun stuff, I just want you guys to realize that this all takes time. And the truth is, your business should be prepared for an exit at any time. Wouldn't it be great if we could control all the outcomes? The reality is we can't. So don't let the outcomes control you. Have things in place so you control the outcomes. And we'll talk more about that. A lot of times the things we unearth right at the time of transition, they're not quick fixes. They're things that are going to take us a while to fix. And let's face it, your business is your baby. So there's a lot of emotion tied to it. You've worked really hard. And it's likely your biggest asset, and you don't want to make any mistakes. Thoughts? All right, let's see how I'm doing. All right.
You touched on it a little earlier. You said you're working with someone as young as 16 years old that wants to take over the parents' trucking business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me to plan for my kid,
Right.
he's 16 too, he shows a little interest in it. He says that he might want to be the third generation, but there's a lot of time between now and then. How do you really, I assume you don't put all your eggs in that basket, but you maybe say a few avenues of how to transition.
Right.
What's your thoughts?
As you're sharing this with me, it reminds me of a client I've been working with for 2 years in Denver. He's got a really successful company, and when he took it over from his dad, it was nasty. Like he said, Lisa, I almost practically pushed my dad out because he wasn't retiring. I wanted to take over, and the business is really successful, and he has a son, Harrison. And Harrison's a great kid, went to college to become an accountant, and he doesn't want to put pressure on his son that he needs to take over the business. In fact, he doesn't even want to have the discussion with his son because he doesn't want to ruin his relationship with his son the way him and his dad's relationship is broken, which they're working on still right now. In fact, I was doing strategic planning with them a month ago, and his dad came and sat in to see what strategic planning was all about and kept passing his Steve notes. Think about this, think about that. Pretty good, he's 78, so he's still right into it. But anyways, I met with his son Harrison, and I said, so what are your thoughts on your dad's business? And he goes, you know, Lisa, I really want to do it. And I'm like, have you told your dad that? And he goes, well, no, because I feel like I'm acting entitled. Like, why should I just get to do it? I feel like I'm, expecting too much. And I said, I think your dad would really like to hear that you're interested. Can you imagine? They've never discussed it. And so then I said, how long should your dad wait for your final decision? You're going back for your graduate degree, you want to go work at a fancy accounting firm, and then take over the business. So can we make some sort of, when you talk to your dad, here's how much time I need, right? Before I give you my, I'm thinking this is what I want to do, but if I change my mind, what would be a reasonable amount of time? Your dad wants out in 5 years. He goes, what do you think about 3 years? I'm like, I don't know. So when he left that day, we practiced the conversation he was going to have with his mom and dad about saying that he's interested, that he was going to tell him in 3 years, he'll give him the final answer. So we're on year 2 now, so there's another year to go. He's living in Seattle. He's enjoying himself, but he still wants to come back to the business. But in the meantime, Steve made a leadership bench that was strong enough that if Harrison doesn't come back, he's in a good position to sell. So working at dual, always preparing the business for that exit. But the other 16-year-old, the trucking young fella, the other thing we like to do, specifically with family transitions that I'm not going to talk about a lot today, and because you're family businesses, you've probably seen it, family owner management. Venn diagram, There's an objective and goal for every one of those circles. You can be a family member, you can be part owner, and you can run the business. All three. You can be a family member, don't have ownership shares, right? And you don't work there. Or you can be a management person and you're not a family and you're not an owner, and it's confusing as heck where you fit in, right? So what we do is we go in and we do discoveries around those three circles to see where the problems are. And one of the things for the family circle, the goal of that is to have all family engaged enough so that they feel connected to the business, even if they don't work there and they're not an owner. So when I think of your son, right, if you start having a family meeting where he starts hearing more information about the business and learn about that business, even if you have a daughter, if you have in-laws, anyone who can be, because you want them connected enough to be able to show empathy to you and support for what's going on in the business every day. And so that's a good way to start getting kids involved. Now, owner decisions aren't made at that family meeting, and management decisions aren't made. All family meetings have three parts. The first part is high level. Here's how the business is doing. You probably see we got 4 new trucks. Hey, come on out. We have this great tracking thing in here, and I don't know, let's make it, and there's a dishwasher in it. I don't know, I'm making it up, but just something, you're teaching the family about what's new in your business. Maybe that you're buying an additional piece of property to build a new building across the town, so they see that before they drive by or hear about it from someone else, right? So there's this high-level business update, then there's some sort of education for the family. Here's what happens if something happens to me. This is our contingency plan. Here's the will. Here's just some sort of education, and then you celebrate, because a lot of families don't celebrate the business together. You go out and you have a good little dinner and a couple of drinks, and you're just celebrate this great business that's been transferred through the generations that we're all proud of with the family. That was a long answer. All right. So that's what you can do. All right, let's get started. First thing we're going to talk about, I think, are the stages of a transition. So some of you say, well, we're already kind of halfway down the road, or, we've already started, or maybe we haven't taken too long. 1, 2, and 3 can happen quick. There's just consequences with it. So if you don't take a lot of time to prepare, there will be consequences, but you can do it. So the first phase is what I call discovery, and that's really getting in there and investigating the possibilities. So is it going to be a transfer to my family? Is it going to be, maybe there's a key guy, a great plumber, a great HVAC guy that might be interested in buying some of the business. Maybe we can make an ESOP. Maybe we're just going to do a third party. Just really understanding all the things that are out there that you might want to do. A lot of people, it's the first time they come up with a number. In that discovery process, they come up with a number of what they might need to sustain the lifestyle they want, and they come up with a number that the business is currently worth. The value creation part, that's where you, as you change your lens a little and you start looking at your business from the viewpoint of someone buying your business. So what would they be looking at? And how do we increase the value of the business? And you heard earlier some of the biggest mistakes contractors make. Well, if we take that and turn them around, it's a lot of the things that create value in your business so that it's ready for someone else to take over at any time. And we'll go deeper into that. And then there's structuring the deal. So how are we going to do that? What's the deal going to look like? No matter what type of exit you're going through, you need some sort of deal structured. Right? No deal yet? You looking at me or are you asleep?
Looking past it.
Structure the deal. And then the final thing is the third act. And the third act doesn't start. That third act is what you're going to do next. And it doesn't start till you're physically and emotionally detached from the business. That's when it starts. And that's one of the toughest things for a business owner to do. So those are the 4 stages. What stage are you guys in? structure the deal between those two? Yeah?
We just gotta kick him out, but they've already started.
Yep.
Ownership's already changed hands in those days.
But he's not detached yet. What about you guys?
Discovery.
Right, figuring it out? All the different ways to do it? What about over here?
Probably between discovery and creation, value creation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you two? You just come in and out when you want, pretty detached from the whole thing? Excellent. Here we go, you guys. Here's a success right here. What about your dad? How's he doing? Where are you guys on this continuum?
I think we're in the same group as those other families, but we hate our dad.
You what? Did he just say they hate their dad?
We had a joke yesterday.
Oh, no.
They weren't sitting together, so we
Oh, okay.
there was problems. We found out more than we wanted to know.
Well, it's a hard one. We're going to talk about that. What about you two?
We're at the tip of the arrow.
Nice. Nice. All right. So when it comes to your transition options, you have two choices, right? Are we going to transition it inside or outside? That's the point in the road you come to. So here's all your different transition options. We have inside, that intergenerational transfer, or a management buyout, sale to existing partners, or an ESOP. Now, if none of those work out, you might consider outside, or you might consider outside first. It's up to you. You choose which road you're going to take, and that's a sale to a third party, recapitalization, and an orderly liquidation. Does everyone know what all those 7 things mean?
Yeah, what's the recap?
Recapitalization. Anybody want to venture to describe what that is?
Would that be like bringing in an investor and you're able to cash out a portion of your ownership by them coming into the ownership group?
Did everybody hear that? So it's like that private equity group. You bring it in and you sell half of it, and then they run half of the business with you. So when you look at that, each one of these has pros and cons. So since we're a lot of intergenerational transfers here, what's the pro of going that route? Keeping that legacy going. What else?
Hopefully, if the generation has worked there for a while, it shouldn't be a major change.
Should be smooth, easy.
The same goals, same everything.
Mm-hmm.
We can't hear.
Well, if the younger generations work there for a while, it's not a huge shock to the system when everything changes. There's a lot of smooth transition.
Mm-hmm. What could some of the cons be?
Family.
Those dang family dynamics, huh? Yeah, what else? Right, they might be disappointed.
Getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that happen in 2 businesses.
Can everyone hear what he's saying? The employees aren't thrilled about it, so they leave. That kid's a knucklehead. I'm not working for them. Right? I have a group I work with. It's folks like yourselves, but that I've worked with, families across the nation, and we get together once in a while and we just have a round table from different parts in the States, and they talk about what are your biggest issues as the next gen taking over. And do you know what the number one hardest thing is? Gaining the respect of the team members. For the team members to like them as much as they like their dads. How do they do that? Because it's not something that you just get anointed, right? You have to gain and build that. And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. All right, so this is where you're going to work on. I'm going to come to each table except my colleagues, the rest of you. Here's what we have as the pros and cons. If your table had to vote what you believe is the biggest pro and the biggest con, what would it be? Discuss. Pick your pros and cons. Can you see them from over there? You two just refuse to move in. All right, what do you guys pick as the biggest con? Family? And what is the biggest pro? You don't see anything good up there that you would agree with? What's that? The business legacy, right? A lot of pride involved in that. What about you guys? What do you think? You didn't discuss it. You just think through each other? Okay.
So our pros, we felt would be business legacy also.
They also feel business legacy here. What about con?
It's family dynamics.
Those family dynamics, huh? Okay. What do you guys think?
Which one? Are we doing both?
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest pro and the biggest con?
My personal opinion was the key employee flight risk.
Right.
You know, the gain in the respect.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pros, we were just discussing it. I think it was a greater motivation for us to transfer intergenerational because, I mean, he wanted to secure his retirement.
Right.
I wanted to secure my future. So I don't know if that falls under the bottom one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had to be
Win-win for both of you.
successful.
Yep.
Yeah, if it wasn't successful.
Mm-hmm.
it was
So you could, no, that's great. So they chose that last one, that higher buyer-seller motivation. So how does his dad's hard-earned, right, work? He gets to live his dream, and then he gets to take it over and build a successful future. Awesome. What do you guys think?
We went for the legacy,
Mm-hmm.
where he's 5th generation and we're going on 3.
Yeah.
And the cons for us was the funding portion.
Right. Where do we get the money?
I don't know what Dave was still deciding on that one.
I mean, that's always the I guess the balance is
Uh-huh.
you want the most out of it, but yet you want it to be successful. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a push-pull, at least in my transition with my father
Right.
30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
Excellent.
we can talk about every one of those.
Right. What'd you guys think? Thank you.
Business legacy,
Uh-huh. Business legacy.
employee flight risk.
Yeah, employee flight risk. An electrical contracting company called me from Minneapolis, and he wants to pass it on to his son. His son's not an electrician. So they have concerns, how can he run an electrical company if he's not an electrician? But, I mean, I get it, but the father felt there'd be no respect from the guys that worked there if he was an electrician, even though he was very business savvy, right? And he could run a business. So it was one of those, how does he build that respect around how good he is around business versus his electrical skills, right? To prove that out to the team members. What'd you guys think?
Less disruption,
Less disruption?
family dynamic.
Family dynamic. So somebody going to share one of these family dynamic stories, or what? We are hearing a lot of family dynamics. Is it?
I can give you one.
You can. Okay.
Bought a business out from my family, and we didn't talk for 10 years, a brother.
So did that brother feel he got
He got gypped.
gypped?
He got hurt. He felt he not gypped. I don't know what it was, but I mean, there's a lot of other siblings that
Right.
were involved too that didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy them out,
Right.
so
You're eager to share something back there.
I want to say something pro for ours,
Oh, Fight Club. Uh-huh.
We come from three very, very polar opposite directions. Robbie's the plumber, Brett is all things asset management.
And there you go.
And I'm the CPA.
Awesome.
All three going to have ownership in the same company. So while yes, it could end up very badly, it also could end up being our strength.
I love that you're saying that, because when I work with a lot of families and the dad's like, I don't know which one I'm going to pick to run the business, you know, like which one's going to run the business, or how do I pick between my kids? And the thing is, we all bring different gifts. So a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll go in and we'll do behavioral assessments just to see how they're naturally hardwired, what is their strengths and what do they struggle with. And the tool that I use is really neat because you can do a comparison report. So it would be like, here's how Lisa works with Brett, and here's how Brett works with Lisa, and what they can do to work better together. And so what you're able to see quickly, the roles just naturally fall in place on what you can do and how you can work together, and then set that structure up on what's a management team decision, what's an owner decision. Remember I said about those 3 circles? They're different. And so a lot of times an owner's worked on his own and he's making that decision making right on the spot, right? So he's in a meeting and he's going, someone wants something, the owner's going, oh, that sounds like a good idea. From an owner's hat, yep, that sounds like a good idea, we can fund that. Well, the kids miss out on how they're learning to make those decisions. So during the transition, I often recommend, if there's 2 sons, a daughter and a son, be very clear about what's an owner decision. So you can say, excuse me, other leaders, we have to go make an owner decision right now. Because how else are your kids ever going to learn how to make an owner decision versus someone else that works there that helps manage the business? All right, so you saw there were 7 of them. Go ahead.
I kind of got off on a side tangent, but I didn't hear all of Ralph's family dynamic.
Oh.
Was your brother a part of the decision and then later didn't like?
That is correct.
So he felt he got the raw end of the deal later.
Made the decision at one time and then found out that he thought that because the business went better than what he thought it should have, and he didn't like the fact that he wasn't involved with it, and I took advantage of it. But now that is all over because his accountant,
I'm not an accountant, remember?
I know, oh, that's right. His accountant told him that I was the problem.
Oh.
And come to find out, the accountant was the problem and ended up in prison.
Oh my
So
goodness.
It was a lying part that he didn't find out until later. So his perception was skewed by someone else.
Interesting.
And it's interesting how perception and cost and the ability for it all ties into this.
Right.
We have to know the whole story. Once the whole story's out, then it works. But like she said, you got to be more open.
Right.
You got to be open with everybody.
That's why that discovery interview, people are like, what do you want to talk to my brother for? He doesn't even understand but there are things families just don't talk about. And so we have to get that all out. And when I meet with them after, it's like, okay, here's where you guys are aligned, here's where you're not aligned, right? Here's the things we need to work on, because my number one thing I want to make sure is the family unit stays intact. That's my goal. And when we get pulled in and there's already a war going on with the family, it's not pretty.
Now, I will say this, it has gotten a lot better. He was here today, even with us. He said
Well, there you go.
to me. We get together as family now, we talk. We just don't do all the things we used to do. And it will never get that way again. That's the problem that I don't like.
Right.
It will never be what it was.
Is there anything you want to, you haven't started, you're thinking about it.
Well, ours it would be very low disruption.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy for that. And for us, I think it would just have to do with probably the funds. Funds.
Yeah. Okay. We might have an idea to help you with that. Stay tuned. Don't leave. All right. What do you think the one means, traditions may outstrip good strategy? What do you think that one means?
That's the way my dad used to do it.
Right?
His granddad used to do
Right. My dad would put everything down in the book at the end of the day, everybody's hours on the job, and then he would add those up to see if he was on track or off track with the job. Every evening he'd do that when he get back. But my dad did that, right? Is there software that can help us with that now, Brett? Yep. So how do you let those new ideas come and help make you more efficient, right? Okay, the next one, management buyout. I'll just let you take a look at it. You'll see there's all kinds of pros. You know, the continuity, highly motivated buyers, preserves that key human capital. You can plan it with them. And it can be combined with private equity if you'd like to do that. Some of the cons could be some management sandbagging, distraction, coercion of an owner. I get pulled in this a lot of times too, because if the owner comes up and says, hey, I have a great idea, you should buy the business from me, and the guy's looking at him going, well, I'm not going to say no because I'll probably get fired. I don't want to get him angry, right? And they feel like they have no choice. So sometimes we go in and we talk to the business owner and their key leaders and just say, you know, hey, Steve's thinking about transitioning. What are your ideas on that? What do you think about? What excites you about it? What concerns you? And eventually they get to, I'd really like to buy in. I go, bingo. No, I don't say that, but I go, okay. But just kind of ask open-ended questions and see what their interest really is. How much skin are you willing to put in the game? Do you have any resources, loans? Do you want it given to you? I don't know, just see what they're thinking. I like the bottom one too. Managers are not always good entrepreneurs. Yes?
You mentioned son that wasn't an electrician to take over a business. I think that's one of our detriments to the trade is that we're tradesmen. It's really important to have that job. Not necessarily about making money or building the business. We've got to have that job.
Mm-hmm.
It's important. And I think that's where some business strategy would be better for us as business ownership.
Yep.
Rather than just a tradesman coming in for a trade.
Right. So they can really help make your business a lot more efficient and look at all the different opportunities.
That's where you take a foreman
Mm-hmm.
and bring him up and say, okay, you want to buy the business. May not be the right fit.
Right.
Business savvy.
Right.
Get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how to make money.
Absolutely.
Don't know how to necessarily get along with everybody in the company. I just have to get along with this group.
Mm-hmm. I like what you're saying. You're absolutely right. And that bottom one is whoever founded your business, if it was your dad or your dad's dad, or they had this dream and they had this entrepreneurial mindset. And those type of personalities like to take risks, like to go for it. They're thinking about it. They're passionate about it. You know, you're just a different being. Entrepreneurs are just different people, right? And managers aren't always of that same mindset. All right, next one, sale to partners. Less disruptive, it's planned, well-informed buyers, controlled process. A lot of times, hopefully you guys all have buy-sell agreements in place if you want to bail out or you want to bail out, what that looks like. Cons, lower sale price, potential for discord, competency gaps, a little slower to realize the proceeds. Sale to employees. So these are all going to be posted. I think this presentation is going to be posted so you can get all the detail. I'm just going to fly through them right now. There's the pros and cons to a third party. Usually that's the highest price, more cash up front. You got to pay for someone to help you do that. You can walk away faster. It's over with. Cost effective, breaks deadlock at management level and family. I get a lot of calls that some families, they have it all set up. They've figured out how they're going to transition the shares. They figure out who's going to lead it, but they're still not doing it. They're stuck. They're just stuck. And I believe it's because we haven't figured out how to transfer the social capital. Those are the things that are important to the business owner. Like, here's how these are my values when I run the company. This is what's important to me. This is where we donate money. This is how we treat our team members. It's kind of the soft stuff that if you don't transition that to the next generation, you're going to get stuck because you're not sure they truly understand it. And so one of the tools we do for that is a family participation plan, a family charter, where we memorialize those values that are important to that generation that's moving out. But a third-party sale, sometimes you just get stuck and you can't do that transition, so you just sell. Recapitalization, the pros and cons, and then an orderly liquidation. Let's just sell everything, get out.
Don't you find that as the most expensive route, though?
Well, I mean, yeah, you'll lose the most probably. We have clients, we go in and we just, is my business sellable, you know? And we'll do a quality of earnings on it, and we'll do a deep dive and look at it, and it's just, you really have nothing to sell till you start fixing all these things. Then we go through and say, what would liquidity look like? My last client, they're working on fixing it. They did not want to have to go through a liquidity event. All right, so those are the different choices. Now let's talk about the tough stuff. So, this is personal readiness. It's a thing that they always go, Lisa, we don't need to talk about. This is the soft stuff. I'm a plumber. I don't need to talk about the soft stuff. I'm an HVAC guy. I don't need to talk about the soft stuff. But what this is, during this process, during the discovery interviews, I'm trying to determine a business owner's personal readiness to leave the business. So, business owners that are transitioning, how emotionally attached are you to your business? 1 being you could care less, 5 being I just love it, I never want to go. We already know you're a 5. Okay. So, what are you?
Probably a 4.
A 4? You're a 5, right?
Me a 5? Oh no, can't you see my legs? They're white or they're
You're a
brown.
6. You don't.
I'm okay to leave. I'll go golfing.
All right. What about over here?
I'm probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
3.
3? What about you? They're laughing.
4.
4.
Probably a 4.
A 4, yeah. 4. What about your dad that you don't like? You guys, how emotionally attached is your father to the business? 1 being not attached at all, 5 being he just can't get away. He just 5? 7? All right. So when we do these discovery interviews, you know, some of the things that we talk to the business owner about is, who are you? Who are you? What is your goal? Why is that your goal? What's next? What do you currently have? What do you need? So obviously, the first 3 take a lot of self-awareness, and that's a big journey. So as a young business owner, you should be thinking about that now, right? Who am I? What's my goal? What do I want out of this? And why is this important to me? That business owner I was talking to you about a few minutes ago, the one in Denver whose son's taking over, every Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, he sits his wife down, he sits down, and the 2 of them, and they do a visioning session. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What are your goals this year? And they talk about it as a family. Now, you're so busy running a business, right, trying to make sure everybody's got work, that you can meet payroll. This takes a lot of time, those first 3 things to do and figure out. So let's go a little deeper on this. These are the common questions I ask a business owner. So I want you just to take a few minutes and take a look at them. What do you think of those questions? This is how I determine An owner's readiness. Well, there are a couple of, there's a lot more questions. How attached are you to your business? How's your health? How's your relationships? I have a business owner up in Green Bay. He owns a large trucking and storage company, and he just cannot take time away from work. He's 67, and his wife is crying. She's like, Lisa, he's gonna die, and we're never gonna spend any of our money or have any. She's crying. She texts me, like, she's so upset. How are you gonna help us? So I'm like, Bruce, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? He goes, everything's a cluster. I can't go right now. We can't find drivers. We can't do this. I need to be here. It's just all a mess. I need to be here. And then I get there, and he's so emotionally distraught. I think he's gonna have a heart attack. So he's not having the time of his life, that's for sure. And I'm like, what about if you take Tuesday and Thursdays off? Why don't you just try pick 2 days, pick a day. He goes, Tuesday and Thursday. I'm like, okay, so what are decisions that occur during Tuesday and Thursday that you want to be involved in that your sons can't make without you? Like, what would it be? The list was like one thing. The only thing you want, because that's how capable his sons are, he's just not capable of not being there, right? So I think the one thing was if there was a fatality or like a really bad safety, something happened, he'd want to know about that. And so then, in order for him to take Tuesday and Thursday off, when he comes in on Wednesday morning, first thing, all his key leaders meet with him and tell him what's been going on. So he doesn't go around searching for what's been going on the day. So he's on his 3rd week of doing this. And what I learned when I was there on Monday, they said, oh yeah, he's not calling us, like his 2 sons and the HR person and the finance person. He's calling other people out in the field to see what's going on. But he's much better. So him and his wife, they were able to go for a tour. And what they're doing is, they're thinking about things that they want to start doing together as he pulls away from work. What are your passions and interests? How much money do you need? Now, this is a big question. A lot of people don't know that, right? So how much money do I need to sustain the lifestyle after a transition? So it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? You need to figure out how much money you need, and you need to figure out how much money you can get from your business. So if those 2 things don't line up, because most business owners, that's their biggest asset, right? Then you have some work to do, and you can't just fix that in 6 months or a year. It's going to take time to fix that. Whoa, what about this bullet point? The 5 Ds. This is something that can really ruin your business if you don't have plans in place. That's what's kind of important about the family participation plan, because if you, in your family participation plan, anyone who becomes an owner has to have a prenup signed when they get married. Well, it's a lot easier to get that prenup signed by the new wife or husband if this is something that's always been a rule versus it's a rule because you're marrying my son or my daughter, right? That's where that family participation plan, preparing that long time ahead of time, will help save a lot of hard feelings. Disability, what kind of insurance do you have? What will your family do if you become disabled? Disaster and distress. And then the contingency plan. So you see, a lot of these things, we're trying to remove risk. So what happens tomorrow if something happens to one of you? Who has a contingency plan that people are aware of? That's what you do, good. I have a basic template of one that you can work on. It's an example, just so you have something, I will share it with you guys, okay? It's just, dear family, I've loved running the business. Seems like you're really not that interested in it. I'm okay if you sell it. Here's the people I want you to pay to help you get through that process. They already know. Here's some strategic buyers. I mean, I know it sounds terrible, but trust me. Your family's going to be going through enough pain than trying to figure out all that. Okay? So, personal readiness. These are the things that we want to look at to figure out how ready are you to transition your business. Now, when you look at these things, they're good business strategy, right? Some of them, like, shouldn't you have some sort of interest outside of your work? Shouldn't you have your business protected? Shouldn't you have a contingency plan? And then there's business attractiveness. So we like to look at what's your personal readiness to transition, and then how attractive is your business? So what does a buyer look at when they're looking at your business? And again, these are things that just make your business a better business. So you should be thinking about these all the time. What do you think's on this list?
You know, I think if somebody's looking at it to buy it and they see that they're just buying themselves a job, they're not as attractive. If there's like a management team in place, if it can run with them stepping away from it, if they can just manage from above, they're probably more interested than in just buying themselves a job where they have to be there every second of the day and run.
You're on the right track. Any other thoughts?
They're looking at return on investment. Like X number of dollars, how much can I reasonably expect to see out of it?
Yeah, what's the forecast look like, right? Opportunity for growth, additional geography, additional stuff, right? What's our opportunity? All right. When we're looking at business attractiveness, we want to make sure, does the owner understand how much they need from the business, what the business can contribute, and what a buyer looks for? So buyer's eyes, what are they looking for when it comes to your business? They are going to want to know your financial performance. And the financial performance, when we are helping our clients with valuations of what their business is worth, we usually ask for the last 3 to 5 years. What's your performance been like in the last 3 to 5 years? Because that plays into the value of your business. Have you been growing? Have you been going down? Have you been stable? What does it look like? We talked about growth potential, right? So a buyer's going to look at, the faster a company is projected to grow or has the ability to grow, the more it's going to be worth. Ooh, they're going to look at overdependence. What do you think overdependence on what? Any ideas what this overdependence could be?
Is that like on one customer?
That's right, that's one of them. So overdependence on a customer, overdependence on a team member or the owner, and then thirdly, overdependence on a single supplier. So they're going to want to see what that overdependence looks like. Cash flow, we heard about that earlier. They're going to look at your cash flow. Why? Because if you have good cash flow, it's easier to get the money from inside than capital, to fund capital than the outside. Reoccurring revenue. Can we see? Do you have regular clients, regular people you work with? Maintenance agreements, consumables, like our HVAC guy, we get all our filters. He comes and checks our furnace all the time and our air conditioner. Plumbing, right? Things that you can count on for reoccurring revenue. Long-term contracts with builders, stuff like that. They want to see all that. What's your unique value proposition? What's that mean? Yeah, what's the moat you have around yourself that makes you so different that a competitor cannot penetrate it, right? What makes you unique in how you serve and what you do? Customer satisfaction. Anyone ever hear of a net promoter score? Do you know what a net promoter score is? On a scale of 1, you sent your customers on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being never again, and 10, what's the likelihood you would use us again? Or tell your friends about us? If they're a 9 to a 10, they're a promoter. 9 and under, 9 to 7. What are they called? Let me check. Passively satisfied, and below that, they're a detractor of your business. So net promoter is something everyone understands if they're a buyer, and you can say, hey, our client survey, we have this many that are, promoters of us, 9 to 10. And then we have this, there it is, the strength of the management team. A lot of people say, hey, I'll just stick around and be there forever and work there. Well, if you want to sell or if something happens to you, that poses a problem if someone else can't do what you do. All right, any questions on the buyer's eyes? Lots of information, huh? What time is it? 11:45? Do you guys need to stretch for a minute? Are you good?
Hey Lisa, just before, just take a second break. Did someone get this? Yeah, I bought it. I almost took it home.
Oh, I bet it's a nice ladder.
Okay, just wanted to clear that up.
He told me I could take it. He told me I could take it out.
That's okay. So have I helped you kind of look at things differently at all about what you need to think about in the planning process? Anything new, or is it all old information? So what I want to reinforce for you is we do this every day. Okay, like this is all I do is I go in, we have a team of people that do that go in and help people in your situation. What I want to show you here is the people that are on the owner transition services team with me across the nation, who are some of those different circles you saw. They're going to introduce themselves and tell you where they fit in a transition. Now, it's quick. Some are 30 seconds. I deleted a couple. They weren't very good movie stars. One guy has COVID while he's doing this, so you can determine which one you think looks the sickest, but he didn't want to let me down. But I said, kind of wanted them to all be here so you could ask some questions, but they made these little video clips for me. But every transition that I help develop that roadmap for, we pull in most of these people to help the business owners figure things out. So what's your challenge? Who's got COVID? Just kidding. He'll kill me that I did that, but poor guy. All right. So back to me. I'm the owner transition advisor. We don't have a video on what I do. Hopefully you're kind of getting the gist of it. Go in, do discovery interviews, figure out what you're heading for, help you build that roadmap, coordinate the team, keep you moving so you don't forget about it, do little checkups, work with your family, maybe put some structures in place like that family charter, family participation plan, how to have a family meeting, owner management decision-making rights, clear roles and responsibilities, leadership coaching. That's all the stuff I love to do outside of being an OTA. So that's my video. This is Drew. He's going to talk to you about wealth advisory and estate planning.
My name is Drew Dolan. I'm a principal of the CLA in the Minneapolis office. I'm part of CLA's wealth advisory practice, and my specialty is working with individuals to develop their own personal financial plan. As the owner transition advisors work through the process with clients, an area that is discussed revolves around the business owner's personal readiness to retire. And part of the business owner's personal readiness revolves around their financial needs to be able to live the lifestyle that they want to in retirement. That's where CLA wealth advisors come into play. Now, you're only able to sell your business once, so having an understanding of what a business owner needs from a transaction in order to retire is essential. Through our modeling, we are able to provide perspective on the type of lifestyle a business owner can live based on a range of valuations for the business. After all, a business is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it, so it's important to consider all outcomes. As a baseline, we can provide you with perspective on how much you need from a business at bare minimum in order to meet your goals. From there, we can help you understand the amount that is needed to accomplish other goals. For instance, maybe there are some charitable intentions, supporting loved ones, maybe it's purchasing a vacation home, increasing a travel budget, whatever the case may be. Each person has their own goals and perspectives on what retirement is to look like to them. So therefore, we cater our projections for each individual. The financial projections CLA provides also lays the foundation for other planning opportunities. For example, maybe the business is worth more than what you need. Are you planning on an inter-family transition? If so, maybe we can consider an IDGIT, an intentionally defective grantee trust. What does that mean for your retirement? Are there charitable intentions? Key thing to do is match deductions to higher income tax years, so perhaps in the year of sale, you can consider a donor advised fund. Now, as we take your projections and we look into the future, there's a fear that there will be some low income tax years in between the time in which you sell the business and you have to take required minimum distributions from your 401k at age 72, is there an opportunity to maybe harvest lower income tax brackets, maybe through some form of conversion opportunities? There's a lot of things that can come from these projections, not just for helping our business owners understand what they need in order to retire comfortably, but there's also so many planning opportunities that can be uncovered in the process that will help improve your probability of success of actually being able to live a retirement that you would like.
So that's true. So even if you're the next gen, it's not too early to start figuring this out, right? I mean, they can forecast all of what Social Security will be by the time you're that age. They can help you understand, what do I need to get to where I want to be someday? It's really, really helpful. I gotta tell you a personal story. It kind of backfired on me though. My husband, he's an electrician, and we, my husband passed away. My original model passed. I don't want to call him original model, but anyways, I was a widow. I met Nick, and he was an electrician for lots of years. And he had a retired electrician who also does wealth advisory, looking after his 401k plan. And then I had more of a professional financial advisor. So now we're married, and we're older, and it's kind of like, well, how long do we have to work? And I said, hey, I have been saving for retirement my whole life. I've been putting 10% aside first since I was 20 years old. I am retiring at 58. That's what's going to happen. And he goes, well, you know, Lisa, I always wanted to retire at 60, and he's 5 years older than me. And I'm like, okay. He's like, well, I think you should give all your money over to my guy. I'm like, no, I'm not. Who is this guy? Like, I'm not going to give my retirement savings to this guy. Well, I went to a private wealth summit for CLA, and I saw who they invest their money with. Some, Charles Schwab. They have all kinds of great opportunity, all these different ways to invest your money. So I got home. I'm like, hey, Nick, why don't we pool our retirement together, and we'll go invest with CLA. I get a bit of a discount because I work there. They have great fund managers. So we met Mark, who's our financial advisor. So Mark got all of our information, and then he was going to sit us down to tell us, is this going to work for the two of you, what you want to do, or is this not going to work for the two of you? So about an hour before the meeting, he calls me and goes, hey, Lisa. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, Nick's going to have to work 2 more years. He's going to have to work till he's 62. I'm like, that's fine. That's why we hired you, right? So when we sit down with you, just make sure he understands that, he has to work 2 more years. Well, boy, did I lose out on that. We had this meeting, they started talking about the Packers, and then we're going for a beer, and by the time we left, I'm working till I'm 60, and he's still retiring at 60. I got ripped off on that one, but it's kind of funny. It's our joke, but just really qualified, good people when it comes to this. The second area I want you to understand or learn about, remember the numbers in that early discovery process? What are your numbers? So Drew's talking about what are the numbers you need to retire. Sahan's going to talk to you about what is the value of your business.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sahan, and I lead the firm's Valuation Forensic Services group. I also have the honor of leading the firm's Specialized Advisory Services group. I am involved in the owner transition process from a business valuation specialty perspective. And if you think about it, in an owner transition discussion, valuation is one of the key aspects that all of our owners want to know. So we're really involved in that valuation process in multiple facets in the whole process, right? If you think about it, we want to have a valuation up front so that our owners know what is our starting point of value, right? And then also understand what those value drivers are, where we can help you with that as well. Once you understand those value drivers, you also then understand within your given time period to the sale of the business or the transitionary event, what can you do to maybe enhance that value? And maybe right before that transaction takes place, you get another valuation done to help you understand how that value has improved from that first stake in the sand to the valuation that you do as of that transaction date, or what your current value would be. So we really from a valuation team's perspective, help the owner transition team a lot because, as I mentioned, all owners would really like to know what the value of their business is.
So as Sahan's mentioning, typically part of that whole discovery interview process that our OTAs do, we also do a calculation of value. So part of the report is, here's what we heard, here's what's going on, here's what we believe the current value of your business is. This is Thomas. I don't think I gave Thomas clear instructions on what he was supposed to talk about, but so I'll let him do it and then I'll explain a little more.
Hello, my name is Thomas Schultz. I'm a manager of human resources consulting here at CLA. In addition, I'm a member of the owner transition team. As business owners make tough decisions related to their business, their culture, human resources, is always a factor that has to play into those decisions. As a member of our owner transition team, I work with business owners, along with my peers, in helping to make sure that the transition and thought that has to happen is done very, very well, with the best interests of both the business and her team in mind. I'm happy to be able to work with you.
So we usually pull HR in for a lot is if we go in and it's just not a healthy culture, when we're going in to help a business owner to help turn that around. Sometimes it's helping them make a new org structure on what it could look like. We also do executive search, help find leaders out there to come in and maybe run the business or general manager. So executive search, help build job descriptions. Sometimes there's no HR processes in place at all just to help you meet compliance and get sorted out. So we actually use HR talent solutions a lot when we're helping with transitions, depending on what we find. This is Jeff. I guess I really didn't understand what quality of earnings was until about the last 2 years about the work that him and his team do, but it's really interesting. Do you know, you're smiling, do you know what it is? No. Does anyone know what quality of earnings is? Besides you two? All right, we'll let Jeff tell you.
Hi, my name is Jeff Service, and I'm the leader of the field services team here at CLA. The way I typically get involved in helping our clients through the owner transition services is through the preparation of a sell-side quality of earnings. The sell-side quality of earnings is an opportunity for our clients to prepare for the buyer due diligence that is likely to occur before they're able to sell their company. The client will engage CLA to perform similar scope of work that a buy-side due diligence team would do in order to get an advanced look at how a buyer is likely to look at their company. Through doing this work, CLA is able to identify adjustments to EBITDA that can increase the value of the transaction, as well as increase the likelihood that the transaction is to close. By understanding the business to the level that we do, we are able to advise on things like working capital targets, escrows, indemnifications, and other key deal terms and conditions. We also have the opportunity to look for any red flags or potential concerns that a buyer may have upon looking at the financial records of your company. Finally, we put together a full and comprehensive report along with all the supporting schedules that you can provide to the buyer. That'll streamline the due diligence process as much of the work is already done for them, taking the burden off of your finance team, your operations team, fulfilling requests as you're going through the sale process. Most importantly, I think the biggest thing that we do to help our clients is to help them through the process. Selling your business is extremely stressful and emotional times. And for most of our clients, it's something that they only do once. Having a team from CLA that's gone through this process hundreds of times helps them to feel more comfortable in the process, helps them to understand what's coming next and feel prepared. And overall, while the process still continues to be very stressful and very emotional, can take a little of that difficulty out of it and ensure that the right outcome happens.
So in shorter said, I think what he's saying, which I know he's saying, is they do this review, so if you're selling, you're not surprised by something that's found. right, through your earnings. So they go through, they take a look at it and say, here's the red flags that might be identified by a buyer, and you might want to clean up, or we need to figure out before someone comes in and does a due diligence on your business. All right, we only have a couple more. Susan, she's very animated, so you'll enjoy listening to Susan.
Hi, I am Susan Roberts, and I am a tax principal at CLA in manufacturing and distribution. And I also have the pleasure of serving on the Owner Transition Services team. My role on that team is tax planning. Whether you are having an asset sale or a stock sale of your business, we are here to make sure that that transaction is as tax efficient as it can be, to put the maximum amount of money into your pocket.
Amen. Right? And even with a family transfer, there are tax things that we can do to protect and make sure that, you know, you're paying the least amount of taxes as possible. And we have great experts here in Salt Lake City and across the nation that can help with that. All right. Okay, so this is the one, okay, there's two more, but this one you guys have all touched on. And so what Matt specializes in, and I've seen the power of it, it's extremely amazing. He uses a tool called Intuition, where he would load all your financials from the last 3 to 5 years in it, and he does what he calls the triple affordability test. And so what the triple affordability test does, it makes sure that the seller is getting what they need out of the business, the buyer can afford it, and the business can stay afloat. And it does all this modeling with different scenarios to see how that works. It is super, super interesting. So he does what I do, the OTA, but then his extra thing he loves doing is this modeling to help people figure out. So he worked with us and those 4 brothers with the 8 kids on how they're going to get the money they need out, and those 8 kids can afford, the business will help them to afford to buy it. You ready? See if I explain it like he did.
Hi, my name is Matt Porter, and I am an OTA, and I focus in on helping companies create affordable transactions. And how do we do this? Through our triple affordability process and financial modeling that we do. So we focus in on the three important components of the transaction. One, the seller, they have to get all the value that they've created in the company and that they deserve. 2, the buyer has to be able to afford to pay the seller what they want and what they've earned. And then 3, the company has to be sustainable, because most of the time the company helps subsidize the buyer. So we make sure that if you're going to do an internal transaction between different parties, we make sure that that transaction is sound and affordable going into the future.
So we use this a lot with construction companies, trucking. Recently, we were working with a wealth advisory firm on how they were going to bring on new partners. Like, we use it a lot. It is just a fabulous, fabulous tool. And then finally, it's our guy, Ben. He's the rock star when it comes to helping business owners sell their business.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben Axelrod, and I lead the investment banking practice at CLA. Part of our investment banking practice, the main part of the practice, I would say today, is the M&A advisory component, which is us helping clients that have made the decision to sell their business to a third party, when that's the best option for the business owner, to advise them on the process. So we develop the process, working with the business owner and the rest of the advisory team, develop the right process for that client, including who the right prospective purchasers would be to approach, how many, what kind, and what we're looking to accomplish is really to maximize the price. Of course, price isn't everything, and it's a very important component, but there are other components to an optimal outcome, such as the terms of the purchase agreement, and in some cases, how long the existing business owner wants to stay on, and in what role and what capacity. Those are all very important pieces to just name a few. So we work with our ownership transition services. We're part of the ownership transition services team, and we work a lot of times with the OTA practice, as well as the valuation practice, and all the other folks you're going to see today as part of this introduction, to develop and figure out, after the client has decided the best path, how to go about that, and then eventually take the business to market and try to maximize those results that I talked about.
All right, so we have 2 slides left. Can you hang in there? All right, thanks, Brett. So what have we learned? Transitions that are successful kind of have these 4 things in common. That the owner who's leaving has a clear third act in mind, and that's what are they going to do? Wait, let me get this right. Everyone needs to be going somewhere, right? And the fortunate ones know where that somewhere is, and the less fortunate ones need to figure that out. And it's hard to do that when you've already transitioned. So it's easier to go to something than just from something. So that client I was talking to you about, the one up in Green Bay that his wife's concerned that something's going to happen to him, he has all kinds of push factors on why he wants out of that business. He's not well, it's driving him crazy, he can't find truck drivers, there's a bunch of people problems, COVID, they didn't get PPP because they're too big. Those are all things that are pushing him to want to leave. Now, if you leave because of the push factors, there's a good probability you're going to regret it. So I'm encouraging them to think about what are the pull factors that make you want to retire. So we were talking about there's a lot of waterfalls in Wisconsin. Maybe they can go on a waterfall tour. Maybe they can go on a lighthouse tour. Maybe they're thinking they want to go to Europe every winter. So they are making a board, a vision board, that they're putting pictures of all those things on in their kitchen, right? Things that they want to do together, and they talk about it and they're kind of having fun. They went looking for eagles the other day, eagle nests. But just something that's pulling you instead of pushing you. Managing money. Those that are successful, I mean, it's kind of exciting to get this huge check and you put it in the bank and you see all these numbers, right? Well, the problem with entrepreneurs is they're an entrepreneur. They're going to get the itch to do something with that. And there's been a lot of stories of entrepreneurs who have lost a lot of their money when they transition because they invest or they do something that maybe was high risk. So really ensuring that you have advisors around you to help you manage that money, and other business owners that say, no, that's a bad idea is a good idea. That entrepreneur mindset, you're going to want to do something else, right? That's what led you to what you do. But to be honest, you need to accept you're going to be a lousy employee to someone. You can't go from being a boss to working for someone. I've watched owners who've been bought by half of their business by private equity and they agree to stay on. And it doesn't last long. It might last a month because they're not the boss anymore, right? You're not going to be a good employee. And you probably won't do well in retirement because you're always going to be trying to figure out something cool and new to do because you're an entrepreneur. So where can you channel those things? Can you get involved in a board? Can you become an advisor and sit on someone else's board? Sit on your business's board. Just because you have so many good ideas. And that whole start early, I hope you've gotten that today by this, this fire hose of information on why it's important to start early. And if you work with just one advisor, they're going to look at what they do, their scope, valuation, transfer share, wealth advisory. That's why you need a team that's going to make sure all of the parts are being covered. So finally, what does a good transition consist of? Well, it's when the owner feels they were treated fairly, that they were compensated the amount of money that they deserve for all their hard work that they've put in over the years and the risks that they had taken. They have a sense of accomplishment. They can look back and know that they've made a difference by building this great business and they had fun doing it, that they're at peace with what happened to the people who would help them build that business, how they were treated and rewarded, that they have discovered a new sense of purpose, new lives that they were fully engaged in and excited about, that they want to go do. There's a pull that makes them want to go do it. And finally, they're proud that the company carried on, that they did one of the most difficult tasks a business owner has to do. Put someone new in the driver's seat, and the business keeps running. And they did that. And they can look back at this great thing that they put in place and be proud of it. My friend Steve that I was talking to you about, the guy in Denver, so this year him and his wife practiced going away because he put a new leader in place while he's waiting for his son to come back. And he's like, Lisa, I'm going to take a month off. We're going for a month to Palm Springs. I'm like, that's awesome. Have you told your leader yet? He's like, oh, I'll tell him. So then I think he sprung it on him like the day before. He's like, yeah, Carmen and I were off for a month. We're going to Palm Springs. And the guy's like, yes. I mean, this is the moment he's been waiting for, right, to run the business. So I said, how did that month go? Like, how was it? And he's like, Lisa, the business ran better than ever. And I'm like, but that's good. Isn't that what you wanted? Isn't this what we've been working on? He goes, I feel redundant. I need counseling. I'm like, you're fine. So he was working hard for this, but you know, he's got to switch to that mindset that he needs to be proud, right? That he's built something that is going to carry on. So key takeaways for all of you, it can be complex. There are many considerations. Please surround yourself with the right advisors that'll look at it all holistically and start early. Because no matter which one of these things you start working on, it's just good business strategy. Any questions? Oh, that's nice. Are you gonna leave now? Are you gonna transition? It didn't work. Out of this whole presentation, that didn't work. Any questions? Was it worth your 2 hours? Excellent. You have a great resource in Steve.
A couple people mentioned that you're talking about cash being difficult in transition in family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that triple affordability that Matt was talking about. We use it all the time. It's super because he can model. They do I don't know, it's accountant talk, but they do like Monte Carlo tests on it. They do all these different forecasting to make sure the business is going to be okay. So that family with the 8 kids, the two older boys of the 8, they know that business has to bring in a certain amount of revenue for all of this to float for the next 10 years for this to work. But then they're going to be paid out and they're going to start making all that money if they can just, but it shows it, and it's just amazing the way this tool works. It's super cool. It's one of the tough, and then, yeah, I mean, it has to work for everyone. You know, I'm working with a dairy farmer out in Washington State right now, and his dairy farm and the property, I think, is worth over $50 million, and his son is not interested in it at all, but his son's 3 kids are. So I met with them 2 weeks ago, and there's 21-year-old twins and a 23-year-old. And the grandparents say they have to have skin in the game. They have to put some sort of money into this. So these kids, oh my gosh, you know, they're like, this is huge for them to take over. They're so young, so we have our work cut out, but we're doing that same type of thing. The reality is grandma and grandpa, they don't even need any of the money. Must be nice, right? So they just want to make sure the kids do pay something so that they will work hard. That's their feeling. So we're going to have to figure it out. Now, don't think I work just with big clients. I work with smaller clients too. Those are just a couple of big number examples, but we work with all sizes. In fact, most of our clients are $5 million and under. Some are like, I'm working with a building group. I think their business is worth $700,000. They do renovations and stuff up in the valley. They have nobody in their family to take it over. Their kids aren't interested, so we got to get them ready for a sale. All kinds of different interesting people. You're all great. You entrepreneur families are just the best thing. Hardworking. I want to write a book of all the neat people I meet.
Lisa, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Dave.